Well, right now I'm going to do flatbread. I've had a lot of requests for doing flatbread, so we're going to do flatbread. And the best way to make the flatbread is with a cast iron skillet. Now, the flours that I'm going to use today is teff flour and quinoa flour. Sometimes I do a mixture. I usually do one flour or a mixture of both, depending on how pliable I want the wrap to be. And you can use the wraps for raw veggie wraps in the morning or lunchtime or dinner, or you can make pizza with the wraps. It just depends. And because I am gluten free, I have to use certain flour. So these are the flours that I can use. We have our grapeseed oil. We have our sea moss. Sea moss is going to give you the minerals that you need in your body, and it also helps fluff it up a little bit. And we have our water. And then I also use the seasonings from the approved list. So today I'm going to use a little cayenne pepper, sea salt, onion powder, and I think I may use a little oregano and basil. And usually for my breakfast wraps, I use fennel seeds and some sage in the wrap, just so it can kind of give it that little breakfasty taste. If that's a word, I don't know, breakfasty taste. I just made that up, but you just so it can have that breakfast taste. So I usually use that, and it also helps with the digestive system as well. So let's get started. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we're going to mix the water and the sea moss. So it's a half cup of teff flour and a half cup of quinoa flour mixed in the bowl. And I'm going to start with 3/4 cup of water. So I'm not going to pour all of it in there. You can use a spoon or a fork to stir. So we'll just pour the whole thing in there, because we can always add more flour if it's too watery. So the consistency that I'm looking for is going to be like pancake batter. So as you can see, this is a little thick. So I'm going to have to add some more water. So in my measuring cup, I think I'm going to add a 1/4 cup more water into the measuring cup. And I think I will get a fork because it's easier to stir with the fork. Now I'll show you what I do with the spoon later. But I'm going to add some more water. So just remember, we started with 3/4 cup of water, and then we added a half cup more of water. And just kind of stir that. It's like using a whisk. So 3/4 and then another 1/4 cup of water. And each flour is different, so you're going to have to kind of determine how much water you need. And you don't want it too watery, because then the wraps, can you see that? Because then the wraps won't come out right. They'll be too thin and they won't turn right in the cast iron skillet. So I'm just kind of whisking it together. Everything off the sides. So that's with the water. And then I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of sea moss. And if you're not familiar with sea moss, I'll add more information about sea moss in the underneath. So sea moss is great for giving you back your minerals and nutrients that you need in your body. So we're going to add that sea moss. We're going to stir it again some more. Like you're, I hate to say it, I'm vegan. It's like you're whisking, I can't say the word, I apologize. Like you're beating eggs. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Like, it's like you're beating eggs. You just just kind of mixing it all up. So we added the sea moss. Now I'm gonna add, like I said, I'm gonna add basil. We're gonna do our seasoning. We have basil, oregano, and I used 1 teaspoon of each, except the cayenne pepper. I use about a 1/4 teaspoon. Unless you like it super hot, I would not recommend using too much cayenne pepper. And then 1 teaspoon of onion powder, and I usually use a lot more onion powder than that, but I'm being good today. And then a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. So I'm gonna get all this off this spoon as well. So we're gonna get all this stirred up together. And this is the consistency that we're looking for our wrap. Pancake batter. It's not too watery and not too thick. So that's what we're, and it should be, like I said, thick like pancake batter. So this is a good mixture right here. So just gonna get all those seasonings mixed up, and I hope you can see this. So get that stirred up pretty good. Now for the oil in the pan, you have to know your stove and your cast iron skillet. I usually turn my stove top on 4 because this burner gets pretty hot. So I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of oil, and that may, well, I'll see how much, because you just need a drop of oil. So I'm not going to put the entire tablespoon of oil in there. So I'll just put that down. So just a drop of oil, that's all you need. Now I use this. I don't recommend using the metal on your cast iron skillet, but it's easier for me to flip the wrap. So whatever's best for you. So you know if you're damaging your cast iron skillet, you have no one to blame but yourself. So I'm going to take and move the oil around in the skillet. So it's just lightly oiled at the bottom, and I'm going to wait for this to get hot. So it's lightly oiled at the bottom. So the skillet is hot. Like I said, don't use 1 tablespoon of oil. I would try for 1 teaspoon, or just put a little bit on there, because like I said, you just want to lightly grease the bottom of the skillet. So this is hot, so you have to work fast with your wrap. And here's what I do. I pour the wrap in the skillet, and depending on how hot it is and how big you want it, then I take the spoon. It has to be a clean spoon to start with, and then I flatten it out about as even as you can get it, but just kind of flatten that out. Now this is a smaller wrap. We'll make a bigger one the next time so you can see. And then let that cook on one side, but you can kind of see it bubbling a little bit, but it's cooking on one side. So we let that cook, and like I said, it's easier for me to use this to flip it with. It's up to you. I don't want you to scratch your cast iron skillet, so I really don't recommend using this. And I just kind of take the little bit of oil that's in there and just move the skillet around, the oil around the wrap, just so it can get up under there, and it's a little easier to pick it up. So we let that sit. I would say about a minute, maybe not that long. You can kind of test it if you want, but don't mess with it too soon, because then it won't flip properly. But you can kind of tell when it's time to turn it. So I will wait like a minute and then test it. So that's the one side. So then once a minute or 2 have gone by, I flip it again, and this is how it looks on that side. And it's pretty much done, this one, but like I said, the second one always looks better than the first one, and that's just in my opinion. So you just let that sit for a few seconds or so, and then you can just take it off, and then you can repeat the steps for your wrap. So I'll show you one more wrap, and then you can go ahead and proceed and do it yourself. Okay, so I'm gonna make this wrap a little bigger. So you just pour a little bit more batter down. And it's gonna be a little challenging to turn it, so you may not wanna make it as big to begin with if you can't handle it. So we're gonna make this bigger. And like I said, you have to work fast because the second time around, it's gonna cook faster because the cast iron skillet is hotter. So you're just gonna kind of work that around. You can get a lot of raw veggies in this wrap here. And then usually what I do sometimes in the morning, like if I make sausage, I will take a wrap and put like vegetables and sausage in the inside of the wrap, and then fold and then roll it and stick it in the oven. It makes, like, we call them churros. I'm not sure if that's the right name, or breakfast wrap. It makes an excellent breakfast wrap. It is so good. And then you have your little dipping sauce with it. So those are excellent. So those are a lot of things that you can do with your wraps. So we're just gonna let this sit for about a minute. And just remember, the cast iron skillet is hotter this time around. So know the temperature on your stove. If you see that it's smoking too much or starting to burn or cook too fast, you may need to turn your stove top down some. So I'm just gonna test it a little bit and see, just so we can kind of get the oil up under there a little bit. It's just a little oil around the side. It's too soon, I think. So I'm gonna just let that oil drip around the side of the wrap a little bit. And make sure you have your pot holders handy too, because the cast iron skillet is hot to the touch, so you have to be careful. The smaller ones usually get hotter on the handle, but this edge right here, it typically is hot, so you can't really touch that. So we're gonna let that sit for a minute. Okay, so sometimes with it, it may stick just a little bit, so you may have to get up under there and pry it just a little bit. I don't know why it does that sometimes. Maybe it's the oil not getting up under there, but you see how easy it is? And then you just get that spatula up under there and flip. Let that sit for a minute or two, and then you have a bigger wrap. So that will end or concludes the wrap portion of Electric Gina's wrap session.